Hi, Ukulele Underground. It's going to be a non-lesson because I'm not qualified to do lessons by any means. But just sort of a quick and dirty look at some blues shuffle. This came up because I had mentioned on the forum that I was driving my family nuts trying to get my blues shuffles down on ukulele after being lazy for a long time. I apologize in advance for the quality of the video and the audio. I'm using a stupid little webcam because at least I can get immediate feedback on what my fingers are doing. With the flip, I can't see what I've done until I'm done. Makes it kind of hard to show forms, which is the whole point of this video. Of course, there's two things about the blues shuffle that makes it a shuffle. The first and most obvious and most important is the strum. You know, you're not doing it. I apologize in advance. This ukulele slides all over on me because I haven't put any rubber non-skid on the back yet, like I do on most of my ukes. So it's probably going to make this even flakier. Plus trying to hold it so we can actually see the chords. But anyway, all I'm really, the whole point of this basically is just to show you these forms for these chords. Most of them are well known, but some of them aren't. So anyway, the first thing obviously is that strum. You know, it's not a straight strum. It's a sort of a broken, shuffle rhythm. That's the whole idea. It's a shuffle. If you think somebody's shuffling around the floor, that kind of thing. But what reinforces that is typically when you hear people playing a blues rhythm or blues shuffle, they're not just playing straight chords. Or if it's in a band situation with several people, the rhythm guitars might be playing straight chords, but the bass player's back there doing stuff on the bass that's doing exactly what we're going to do here on the ukulele to help reinforce that blues feel and that shuffle feel. And the most common thing, there's a lot of different things you can do, a lot of different progressions they use, but one of the most common things, oh goody, the air conditioner just came on, we're going to have noise. Wonderful. The most common thing that you'll see is the basic chord, the 6, the 7, and the 6. That's almost synonymous with blues shuffle, if you will. And in the C, in the case of C, it's the C, and then open strings are the C6, and then of course the C7. So it's like this. That's one measure. Okay. The other thing is, and then when we get to the F, okay, there's our F. See if I can get the camera to show that. Everybody knows what an F chord looks like. Well, for the F6, what we're going to do is actually a D minor. We're just going to fold this finger down, okay, so that it covers two of those strings. Hopefully you can see that. And that's technically a D minor chord, but all we've done, it's also an F6, just minus the fifth. We don't have the C anymore. We turned the C into a D when we did that. But the fifth of a chord is not that important. The fifth note is it doesn't tell us anything about the character of a chord. So we can do that, and it's fine. It sounds like an F6. That's why the so-called power chords, which are basically just the root and fifth or root, fifth, and octave, are so popular in rock because you can play it over anything. You can chunk along on those power chords, and it can be over the major chords, the minor chords, basically anything except a diminished chord or an augmented chord, but those just never show up in rock. You can play it over it. So that's why they're so popular. You get the chunky rhythm without having to worry about, gee, is this a major chord, a minor chord, yada yada. You can play it really quick, two-finger chords, what have you. But anyway, so we're using that to our advantage here, as we have to do with a lot of chords on the ukulele. We just don't have enough strings to form full chords. So what we're playing here is a D minor or a partial F6. Okay, and then for the F7, we form it like we always would, except I leave that bar finger down just because it's more convenient, because I'm going to lift that again and be back on the F6. So it's a real awkward angle to hold here, so it's a little poor fingering there, but yeah, okay, get the idea. Just don't try to play it pointing at the camera, and it'll be fine. Now, the one that might give you a little bit of trouble is the G, and the reason is almost all of us, myself included, have gotten into the habit of playing a G this way. That's the way all the books show. You look at it, you can watch somebody play and you go, oop, yep, he's playing a G just by the shape of the hand there, okay? And there's nothing wrong with that. That is the most reasonable way to play it for 99% of what you're going to play. It makes it real easy to get into the D. It makes it, all of the chords that it works with, that form works really well. Okay. The problem is when we want to go with the G, the G6, the G7, and back to the G6, what we would be having to do is we'd be like this, and then we'd lift that finger. Okay, that's our 6, and then we'd have to move them all around, and there's our 7, and then we got to move them all around again to our 6, and and then back to the root, and that's obviously takes time. It can be done, but it's going to slow you down. It's going to take that much longer, and it limits the speed at which you can play. So the thing to do is get in the habit of doing this. And I started out intending to do this for my G's because I knew it would make my blues shuffles easier, but I just haven't been playing a lot of blues shuffles on the ukulele, so I got in the habit of doing it the other way, like most of us do. And so that's one of the reasons I've been working for a couple of days now on this simple C shuffle, is to get it down to the point where this is autopilot and I hit this automatically without thinking about it. I usually hit it, but I still am not at the point where I can be talking, carrying on conversation, and hit it cleanly and all of that. And that's the point you need to get to if you're going to play that form reliably. But anyway, when we do this now, obviously we're not going to lift this finger way up here in space. I'm doing this for emphasis. Okay, you want to keep your finger movements as short as possible. So really, I would be hovering over this string with this finger, just a quarter of an inch up or something. But I'm kind of moving it out of the way so that you can see what's going on. So there's our G. Okay, we're going to lift for the G6, we're going to put that finger down for the G7, and then we're going to lift it again for the next G6, and then we're on to the next measure. Okay, so it'd be, that's the shuffle there. So that's your whole 12, you can do your whole 12-bar blues, which I'm not going to get into 12-bar blues because I'd make the video long, and there's a million sites out on the internet that cover it much better than I could anyway. But that's basically where you would get your chord progressions to run through a 12-bar blues. And then at the end for your turnaround, you might instead of playing for that last measure for that turnaround, you might do something like, and then, so okay, or you might get to that last measure and then start, and then you're back into it. That kind of thing. There's a lot of different things you can do for turnarounds, but that gives you the basic ideas of your 3 sets of chord forms, if you will, for playing a blues shuffle in C. And hopefully I kept this to less than an hour.